In the previous lesson, we saw how we can start working in REDSHIFT and how we can set up a quick rendering using an environment. And I use a total red environment right here, but we're gonna see that we can do a little bit more with environment. But again, we're gonna keep it simple at the beginning. So here I'm just gonna run the 3D render view and just we saw we can work with the most important buttons here and tools of the REDSHIFT render view in the previous video. Now we're going to go for a quick setup here for the rendering. So I'm going to go in Start IPR and then use the RT feature. And I'm going to also use the settings here on this menu, which are similar to the ones we find inside the render viewer. So also we can take a snapshot from here. And in the options, we have the possibility to manage the performance of the rendering. So if you want like a faster render, a quick render, we can go in undersampling 4, which is going to be, or 5, which is going to be like the fastest. And then we have resolution. We're going to go in like 10% is really low. So sometimes we can keep it like 10%. Sometimes we can go for 50. Depends on your computer and on the scene. This is a really simple scene right here, but I want to show you how you can open up more complex scenes. And in the case, you may want to go like to 10% to keep it really quick, really fast. So you don't want to like overload your computer with heavy renderings all the time. So you either like turn off the render engine or you keep it really, really low. And that's again really important, especially when you have bigger scenes with more objects and a lot of materials and lights and so on. So I'm going to go in the preferences here. And that's also another part of the management for the Redshift. If you go here in the render section, you can adjust the performance a little bit also right here. You can reset to defaults anytime. And then you have like the possibility to start the IPR automatically, which is again the fastest combined with the real-time feature. And then you have other options here if you want to go through them, but that's going to be enough for now. And in here, in the render settings, we can change, first of all, we can see if there is production or RT. And for both, you have the possibility to adjust the quality. So for the protection, we have bucket quality. We already explained the difference between bucket and progressive. And then the noising, we can try, if you want, to add the denoising right away, or you can add it later, or you can also get rid of the denoising if you don't want it. In the RT real-time render, we have denoising activated by default. And then we have progressive passes. We can also drop down those, again, if you want to decrease the power or the precision or the quality. And also you can deactivate the noising again to make things faster. And then you have all these settings here for the combined depth, and then you have global illumination, reflections, refraction. Now you can drop down all of these if you want more speed in the real-time render or the IPR, but decreasing this too much will cause some really low quality results. I'm going to show you right away. If I drop down this, you can see right away on the left side, the real-time rendering got really dark and there is not enough light bounces. There are no refractions, meaning transparencies and reflections. So you can adjust those also if you want. Now, another important setting here, in the save file, you can also define a folder where you can store the autosaves. So I'm just going to create a new folder here and call it like saving or save. And that's it. That's where everything is going to go. And you can also set up a predefined format, which now is TIF. And then you have color depth, 8 will be fine. And then the alpha channel, if you want to save also the alpha channel, which is the white channel for the transparency, if you need to like do post-production in Photoshop or other software. And that's for the regular image. And then you have also multi-pass image, when you want to save like the different passes or channels so you can work with them in other software. And here in the output also, you have the width and height also will determine the the, the the heaviness of your final render or the render window. So if you increase this value, you're gonna have better quality because you have more pixels, so more resolution, but also it's gonna take more time. And you can also adjust and make your customized format. You can adjust the width and the height and have your personal setting here. So, or you have some presets. You can lock the ratio. You can change here the units from pixels to others, but probably you're gonna work with pixels more of the time. And then you have resolution per inch. So this is how many pixels you have under an inch, and 72 is fine for the digital world. If you go to printing, you may wanna increase that to 300, and also you can use centimeters for printing instead of pixels. And then you have here other well, you can render the region. We saw you can render only a region. And the film aspect, again, you have some presets. This is square, and then you have HD TV, 35 millimeters widescreen, and Panavision, and so on. So you can choose one of those. You can create your own, define the film aspect, the pixel aspect, the frame rate also if you want to do animation, which 30 is pretty high, but it is like the standard right now. But you can also go as low as 24. And that's the frame range when you decide how many frames you want to render. And if you're interested in Cinema 4D in general, in animation, or creating 3D scenes, 3D modeling, and all these tools that you find in Cinema 4D, you can check the Cinema 4D course. This is just for Redshift. So we only are seeing what we can use also combined with the Redshift render. So of course we can turn off, turn on objects here in Cinema 4D as usual. And by hiding some of the scene, you can create like lighter scenes, not so heavy, that you can manage more. So depending on your situation, you need to figure out again if you need some objects, or if you can hide them in the render or hide them in the view, or both. Again, these are all settings that you already find in Cinema 4D and in the Cinema 4D video course. Now I'm going to go back to my dome light, which was plain red, and I want to change that. You can make something more complex if you use the texture instead of the color. So if you go here, you open up this little extra panel with the little arrow there. You can do some extra settings, or you can just drag and drop in there an image, or you can open it from the little folder button. Now I'm gonna go in the asset browser, and here we will go in the HDRIs. I'm gonna do another lesson about HDRI, so don't worry, this is just a quick demonstration of how things can change using a simple image. So if you go in the HDRIs folder, you have the legacy folder for the um, images that were here also in previous version. You can click and drag. Once you find one, click and then drag it into this empty slot right here. It's going to download it. It's going to apply it, and then there you go. Just wait a few seconds. You're gonna see the results, and you can immediately see that the rendering is going to be way more accurate and realistic than the previous one, because we're not using a simple color anymore. We're using an entire image, which is going to affect the reflections and is going to affect the lighting system. And also want to change here from red to white. As you can see, that you can also give a tint to your HDRI image-based lighting. Now, this is again a technique that is used in every rendering, and it's called image-based lighting. So you can set up the reflections, lighting, and the background. And here I want to adjust also the material of the plane that I'm using, because I want, I'm going to increase the roughness and perhaps decrease the reflection using a darker color here. So you can see it's a little bit different. And we're going to come back to the materials, to the lining more and more in the following lessons. So I'm just gonna, show you that you can make an extremely good looking rendering real quick by just using the HDRI and the dome light. But we're gonna talk about the other lights in this video. So I want to create a new scene, and I just want to show you that you can start with a scene that you already have in Cinema 4D. And here I'm gonna go in the example scenes, and you have your architecture, character design, and motion graphics, product visualization, and VJing. So I'm gonna go for architecture, which usually are the most complex scenes. So that's product design in there. You can try with others also. I'm gonna go for this living room right here, just to show you how you can start with a complex scene. And so you can take any of your Cinema 4D project or scenes and you can start from them, just adding lights or environment light or anything, that is needed. Now, when you see the little Redshift icon, I think it's already compatible with Redshift. So you don't need to do anything here except, choose a camera. In this case, we have cameras we can pick from and just run the render. Now, again, you find everything you need to know in the Cinema 4D course. Here, I'm gonna just go for Redshift and let's see what's gonna happen here. Now, if you don't change here the resolution and the quality, and if you downgrade a little bit, it's gonna be fast. Otherwise, this is a really heavy scene. So you can make a test. You can see that it's really heavy to work with a complex scene in IPR. So right now it's still trying to render the scene. So you need to give it some time. You need to wait, and then it's gonna start eventually. But it's gonna be really slow. At the moment, it's really slow. I'm experiencing a lot of slowiness on this. So this is a light, a lamp. Let's explore inside this lamp. Let's see if everything is dark because we don't have any lamp or is not compatible. And you can see here we have an inner lamp and a outer lamp. And so these are not redshift lights. So when you work with redshift, you're supposed to use the redshift lights. If they don't work, then you need to change them. You need to substitute the existing lights with the redshift lights. So give it a few minutes, see if something happens in the render, try to change camera. There you go. So we have something there. It's calculating. You see, it's processing the shaders, it's processing the real-time hierarchy, it's processing the textures. So we are already ready to go here. Also with Redshift, we know if we want, that's already a render. It's really low quality. All we need to do is increase the quality, but we do have something. So for many Cinema 4D scenes, you can use Redshift right away. For others, you may need to change and create your customized lining. Now you can see this interior is a combination of kind of a sunlight coming from outside, and then we have a lamp. So we can simulate something similar using only Redshift assets, only Redshift lights. So if you want to use the render view, we don't need to do like double the render. So we can keep the 3D scene pretty low quality and simple, and we can run the render inside the Redshift render view, as we also did previously, because this is probably the best option. The best option is to use everything, so everything Redshift, like Redshift lights and Redshift environment, and then also the Redshift render view. Now, before we do that, I want to make this I want to show you just the basic lights. So I don't need all this stuff going on here. So I can either hide it from the view and from the render, or just hide it from the view and show it into the render by using these little circles right here. Again, these are all things that you find in Cinema 4D. And just gonna keep, well, I think I'm gonna get rid of everything here. Just gonna do a really simple rendering just to show you how the basic lights behave. So here I've hidden everything except the room, which is a pretty simple room. You can even do it yourself with the 3D polygonal modeling in Cinema 4D really quick. But we also have dome light here and sunlight. So I want to turn them off or delete them. And once I delete all the lamps, all the lights, this is supposed to be, again, a dark scene. So that's the dome light from Cinema 4D and the sunlight from Cinema 4D. We're not going to use those. We're not going to use any standard Cinema 4D lights. We're going to use our own. Now we are still seeing something here. Or no, let me just, there you go. Now it's updated, so you can see everything is total black because we don't have any light turned on. Everything is hidden. I can even, again, delete them if I want. I just need the simple room. Well, be careful not to delete everything. Just leave something inside. Or, choose your own scene to work with. And first of all, I'm going to apply a dome light. So if I apply the dome light, I should see everything white again. There you go. So you can see we have the dome light, which now it's kind of exterior dome light coming in the window, not like a sunlight, but more like a diffuse effect, like a skylight more than a sunlight. So the environment light doesn't project really defined shadows. It projects really soft shadows and don't, not sharp shadows. So it's generic lighting you can use anytime to light up your scene without actually using, a specific type of light, kind of environmental light. So I'm gonna go again here and try with undersampling for resolution. Let's go 100% so we can see a little better. And you can see the noise happening. The noise is just that little those little dots appearing here and there, and that's caused by the photons of the global illumination. That's how global illumination works. Now, if I turn off the dome light again, there you go, total darkness. And that's what I want to use to show you the basic light. So when you work total darkness, you can concentrate on the various lights. Let's add an infinite light. The infinite light, it's supposed to simulate something similar to the sun. So it's a light projecting photons, projecting rays, all in one direction. Now, it doesn't matter where you position the infinite light. It's more important, there you go, we have the first result there. It's projecting through these windows. So it doesn't matter where you position the infinite light because it's infinite. All you need to figure out is how to rotate it. So rotation is the most important setting for an infinite light or monodirectional light or directional light. So you can see I can rotate it and it's simulating kind of the sun coming inside the room. So that's a first effect. And once you apply one light, then you can adjust the intensity. You can increase the intensity, you can increase the exposure. We saw that these are two similar yet a little bit different settings. And then you can adjust the color again. Now, color in lights can be also due to temperature, or you can work with both color and temperature. Now, temperature is with Kelvin degrees. Kelvin degrees, if you decrease the value of the Kelvin degrees, you're gonna have reddish effect. If you increase the temperature, you're gonna have white and then bluish effect. So this is how light behaves in real life, in the physical world. So if you look for color temperature, you can see the various colors associated with the various degrees in Kelvin. And also if you go in a shop to buy a light in a hardware shop, you will find all those values usually, because this is, again, our light will have their colors in real life. So here you can see I'm trying to figure out the temperature. So if you want to like sunset or dusk or dawn scene, you can maybe decrease the temperature. If you want like midday, you can increase the temperature. And of course, you can adjust the intensity. You can simulate like the moonlight. You can simulate the sunlight in every hour. And also you can change the preview here of the light if you want to see it in the wireframe. If you want to see the illumination and the adjustment, so the color of the light and so on. So you can see how it affects the symbol of the light rather than the the lighting effect itself. So we have preview, we have intensity, and we have color. These are the three main areas. Then of course we have all the other parameters again. We have Cinema 4D. So if we want, we can turn it off just in the viewport or both in the viewport and the renderer, or we can just use the default visibility or off. So let me see here, what else? Display color, X-ray, well, that's pretty fine. And let me coordinates, we can adjust the rotation, position, and size from here as usual Cinema 4D. And here in the object, we can change also the type of light. So we can switch from the direct to the omnidirectional or the area light or the dome light and all the other type of lights from here. So I'm gonna go and show you this later in another video, like the portal light, the physical sun. Now we're gonna stick with the three basic ones, which are the point light, the direct light or infinite light, and the spotlight. So I'm gonna keep this as infinite, and I want to create a new one. So I want to move this maybe in another position. Again, this will not change. You see, it doesn't change the effect because this is not a position light. You can also use the world coordinates sometimes instead of the local coordinates. So you can move it more easily like that. So it doesn't matter when I position this. And only matters if I rotate it. And also here I can activate the world axis. So it's going to be better. You see, to adjust how this external light is coming into the interior scene. And it's projecting really sharp shadows. That's another important thing to notice. So you have the lights, but you also have the shadows. And here you can adjust how this is working. So here I turned off the cast shadows. Here I can see the cast shadows. And then you have transparency for the shadows, which means that the light is kind of going through the walls in a way. If I increase transparency, softness is to increase the blurriness of the edges of the shadows in order not to be too sharp. And then you have all the contribution of the light. So you have the diffuse, the reflection, the transmission, and others. So for example, if you don't want to see the light reflected on like really shiny surface, you can turn off the reflection. If you don't want to see the diffuse effect, which is the standard effect of the light, you can decrease the diffuse effect. So you can manage how the light behaves on the surfaces in there. Now I want to create a point light, and you see it's in the floor. So use the four views because four views are really useful when you work with lights. So I want to position this light in front of my camera. You can already see the effect on the wall. It's looking like a ball. It's looking like a spherical light. And that's what the point light is a sphere. It is projecting shadows, lights and shadows also in every direction. And also here I can adjust the preview again and the intensity. Now you see if I increase the intensity, this looks really intense and visible because it's really close to the wall. Usually lights are more visible if they're close to a wall. That's the best thing you can do to 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 see how they're working. And then you have also different units like lumen, luminous power. We also saw the decay. So we can put no decay, which means it's never gonna lose the energy or the intensity. Quadratic and linear instead will cause the light to gradually you know, disappear and blur out or fade out. So this is again really close to the wall, so it's showing this like a disk projected on a wall, because the actual radius of the point light, it's inside the wall. So if we go in the top view here, we zoom a little bit, we can see that this is inside the wall. And once it's inside the wall, it's gonna be visible, really visible. It's gonna be too bright. So make sure it's not inside the wall, but really close to the wall. There you go. And that's not visible anymore. You can see the difference between the light, the linear effect, and the quadratic. Quadratic is closer to what happens in real life. So here, if I increase more the intensity and the exposure, I can still see a pretty bright disk on the wall, but is not as bright and sharp as the previous one with the linear. So in some cases, you want to use the linear, in some others, you want to use the quadratic. Here also, I can adjust the color and the temperature. So maybe this could become like red or, you know, blue or whatever. And you can add the Kelvin degrees to the tint of the color. You can mix the two. And you can see now, the more I increase the intensity, by the way, in the quadratic, the more I increase the radius. And that's how the point light works. So infinite light, point light, and it's important where you position the point light and the spotlight. It's really important where you position, because you can actually see the effect. So when you move it around, you can see the difference. So this is totally different from the directional light or infinite light. So you can move the spotlight further or closer, and it's gonna show you the disk again. It's showing the disk right now because we are pointing directly into the wall. If I copy this, Control C, Control V, and I rotate this 90 degrees pointing to the floor, you will see a different effect. Let me make it closer to the wall. There you go. Now we have that spotlight really visible. And this is a spotlight that it's often used in architecture, interior design. Usually they are inside the ceiling, or this is also used in theaters. And well, anytime we want to draw the attention of our viewer somewhere, we usually use the spotlight, because it's creating a spot, a particular part important for our view. Here we also have the cone angle and the fall off angle and the fall off curve, which in a way, again, it's managing the fading of the light, but this time not on the distance, but on the sides of the cone. So you can adjust all these three parameters here to create a different spotlight and maybe make it a little bit more realistic. And that's it. These are the main three lights. Together with the environment, we can already create a nice setup for our scene, whether it's interior or you know, object or exterior. Now we're gonna come back to the lights and the lighting techniques in the following videos. So this will be all for this lesson. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, join the channel as a supporter to support us, and check out other courses and guides in the channel. And if you want, you can subscribe to stay updated. And that's it. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson.